Shabbat Shalom again, everybody. This is our fifth week in a row, fifth Shabbat, studying Musar, which is the Jewish curriculum for spiritual living. So far, we've looked at the values of humility, patience, gratitude, compassion, order, equanimity, honor, simplicity, enthusiasm, silence, generosity, and truth. This Shabbat, we are going to explore moderation, loving kindness, and responsibility as defined by our tradition. We'll start with moderation. This is not my favorite. Moderation. Maimonides, the Rambam, the most influential Jewish philosopher of the Middle Ages, wrote in Hilchot Deot, the laws of behavior. The path of the upright is one of moderation in every trait, so that each trait is equidistant from either extreme and not close to either. Therefore, the early sages commanded that a person should put his or her traits before themselves constantly and direct them to the middle road so that they will be complete in their person. So be enthusiastic, but not too enthusiastic. Also be silent, but not too silent. So consciously attempt to find balance between the silence and the enthusiasm, and do so for all the other 24 values of the Musar. I think this is a tough bill. Anybody else? Okay, so that's moderation, very important. Okay, loving kindness. According to Alan Marinis, author of Everyday Holiness, the Jewish spiritual path of Musar, which I strongly recommend that each of you check out, Chesed, loving kindness, involves acts that sustain the other, meaning other people. Musar tells us that action is the key to opening a heart. Chesed goes beyond merely being nice. It's not a feeling. Rather, loving kindness is expressed through action, through clothing the naked, through visiting the sick, comforting the bereaved, and burying the dead with respect and honor. So far we've got moderation, take the middle road. We've got loving kindness, make doing good for others a daily practice. And third, responsibility. In Hebrew, achrayut, which is, it's in Hebrew, it's achrayut, and it might be derived from two different roots. One could be achar, meaning after, and one could mean acher, meaning other, right? So there's two different ways that we can interpret responsibility. So here they are. I quote, when we think of responsibility as deriving from awareness of after, contemplating and including in your calculations the possible consequences of your actions requires that you overcome the urge to satisfy your ego and your desire right now. So responsibility means contemplating the consequences of your actions and delaying gratification, focusing on the long term and not the short term. Okay, so that's one definition. In regard to the second derivation of achrayut, from the root word acher, meaning other, to live a life in which you actively reach out to bear the burden of your neighbor requires that you quiet the demanding voice of desire and ego in order that you can hear the voice and feel the need for the other and respond. So responsibility in this way of thinking is putting the needs of others before your own. One could, of course, easily end up using up one's own resources if caring for others at the expense of oneself wipes one out. So we must all take pains, of course, to be responsible only in, see what I did there? Okay, so now we're gonna play a game, okay? Because we set this up. We have the responsibility, we have loving kindness, and we have moderation. Okay, so these are your words that you gotta pay attention to. So we're gonna play a game. I'm not gonna make anybody stand up like I did last week. Don't worry, you can stay seated. I'm gonna read to you the first 11 verses of this week's Torah portion, Parshat Ki Tavo. And you are gonna tell me how the text relates to the three values that we're exploring today. Okay, so again, moderation, loving kindness, and responsibility. So let me give you a survey of the scene. We're still in the book of Deuteronomy, chapter 26. So Moses is standing, he's giving his long speech to the Israelites on the other side of the Jordan before he sends Joshua into the promised land. He's giving them advice and reminding them of the rules and the benefits of following them and the consequences of not following them. So I kind of imagine that what he's doing is sort of what parents of young children do right before you go into like a new social situation. Make eye contact. Remember to say hello to the host. Behave yourself. And then, you know, maybe offering a reward or a punishment should that not happen. So here we go. This is going to be fun. I want you to just call them out. Okay. So I'm going to read it and you just call out moderation, responsibility, or loving kindness. Okay. Just call them out. I know it's like very anti sitting in synagogue, but you can do it. You can call it out. Okay. This part you've heard me translate. When you enter the land that your God is giving to you as a heritage and you possess it and settle in it, you shall take some of every first fruit of the soil which you harvest from the land that your God is giving you. Put it in a basket and go to the place where your God will choose to establish the divine name. I love it. I love loving kindness too. Moderation. Responsibility. Thank you, Richard. I knew I could count on you. All three. Okay, let's keep going. You shall go to the priest in charge at that time and say to him, I acknowledge this day before you, God, that I have entered the land that Adonai swore to our fathers to assign to us. There you go. The priest shall take the basket from your hand and set it down in front of the altar of your God. Anything? Responsibility, loving kindness. Are they giving all their fruits? Are they giving a portion of it? Could be moderation. Okay. You shall recite as follows before your God. My father was a wandering Aramean. He went down to Egypt with meager numbers and sojourned there. But there he became a great and very populous nation. The Egyptians dealt harshly with us and oppressed us. They imposed heavy labor upon us. We cried to Adonai. Yeah, just like that. We cried to Adonai, the God of our ancestors, and Adonai heard our plea and saw our plight, our misery, and our oppression. Only a couple more to go. Adonai freed us from Egypt by a mighty hand and an outstretched arm and awesome power, and by signs and portents, bringing us to this place and giving us this land, a land flowing with milk and honey. Okay, from God, and responsibility? From God or from us? Okay.
Freedom is responsibility.
Oh my goodness, have you seen Spider-Man recently? It's true. Wherefore, I now bring the first fruits of the soil which you, Adonai, have given me. You shall leave it before God, Adonai, and bow low before your God, Adonai, and you shall enjoy it together with the family of the Levite and the stranger in your midst. All, if you're catching on, all the bounty that your God, Levite and the stranger in your midst, all the bounty that your God has bestowed upon you and your household. Okay, so bonus points to the person who can tell me why the wandering Aramean part might have sounded a little bit familiar. Thank you. Passover. It's what we read in the Haggadah. Okay, bonus points goes to Jacob. So basically, now that we have identified that loving kindness, moderation, and responsibility can be found in almost every action or perhaps in every verse of the Torah, I would like us to use this week to perhaps explore the one that is calling out to you the most. And with that, I will say, Shabbat Shalom.